In our last episode, I shared that we would be turning our attention to the beloved herd of horses, donkeys, and mules who call Unbridled Sanctuary home, including the unforgettable Arnie the mule. But as many of you know, life behind the camera doesn't always go as planned. A technical glitch caused us to lose that entire portion of the interview, and we still don't know where it went. It just disappeared. So today we're going to move forward into an equally powerful and essential chapter of our conversation with founder Susan Kayne and her husband Andrew. It's one that reveals the deeper heart of Unbridled, its advocacy, its ethics, and its educational mission. We'll explore what it took to pass a landmark legislation in New York and how Unbridled is reframing what it means to honor equines, how the stable classroom is inspiring future generations, and the urgent message behind Susan's upcoming documentary, Broodmare, The Forgotten Lives of Thoroughbreds. This is the work that protects, uplifts, and gives voice to the voiceless. Now let's dive in. If you've ever wondered what sprout fodder really is and why it matters, here's the simple truth. Sprouting unlocks the most digestible, nutrient-rich form of barley you can feed your horse. Medalist Feeds has taken that fresh, living nutrition and transformed it into the first sprouted barley pellet of its kind. And these aren't ordinary alfalfa pellets. Medalist grows fresh barley sprouts on site 365 days a year and blends them into a soft, easy-to-chew pellet that supports better gut health, smoother digestion, and improved nutrient absorption. It's especially great for your seniors, hard keepers, and sensitive horses. And unlike hay cubes, these pellets don't require soaking, waiting, or worrying. They're simple, clean, and barn-friendly. With over 300 five-star reviews and sustainable growing practices, Medalist Sprout Pellets deliver fresher, smarter, more accessible nutrition for every horse in your care. Thank you to today's video sponsor, Medalist Feeds, for supporting this channel and for creating innovative, sprout-powered nutrition that truly helps horses thrive.
Come on, Peanut. Hi, beautiful.
And that includes
Hi.
my handsome boy, Dakota. Thanks again, Medalist Feeds.
Unbridled is home to more than 65 equines, from thoroughbreds to mules like Arnie. What's the daily rhythm of life like here for them?
It's pretty laid back here. I found in living with horses, as long as they have hay 24/7 and they have fresh water and they have shelter, they're pretty happy. They're easy to take care of. I don't have a set, structured time of day that they're fed. They get grain, usually twice a day. Sometimes it's at 10 a.m., sometimes it's at 6 a.m., sometimes it's at 5 p.m., 7 p.m. So much is dictated by the weather. We try to have them out as much as possible. Many times they'll be fed out, feed them out in their sheds and they're fine. It's just constant work, attending to their needs. The more that they have what they require, the less stress they have. And when they have minimal stress, there's minimal issues and problems with them. So I think stress is a big driver of disease in them in multiple ways. And we really seek to just keep things peaceful, quiet, make sure horses are matched with horses personality-wise they get along with. Bonded horses are not separated. They're kept together. Try to make sure their, nutrient needs are met. Some are younger, they require growth food. Some are older with, not a lot of teeth, so they get senior food. They get hay pellets instead of crunchy hay. And really, the rhythm is just constantly attending to that with a flow. It's a ton of work. And people will look at me and say, "You're absolutely nuts. I can't believe what you do. I don't know how you do what you do." I love what I do. I know what I signed up for. There's nothing I would rather do. If I had all the money in the world, which I wish I had a lot more, I would do this and just do it better, do it more efficient, have, more spaces built out for the horses, and really be a stronger voice through whether it be shows like this or our own Unbridled TV show, again, to just really get the word out, to amplify their stories, to make a meaningful difference for good. So I'm going to try to do it every chance I have a phone in my hand, thanks to modern technology. A quick snippet, a quick story. Here's how so-and-so's doing today. It's very demanding. I feel like I do 10 jobs, and on a given day, I do get 10%.
Susan, you talk about horses not being owned but honored, not silenced but heard. How do we as a society begin to adopt that mindset?
I can only share my experience from my own journey, which began very much involved with show horses, commercially, competitively, buying, selling, trading. And over the course of those years, and then my experience with Bourbon Bandit on the racetrack, was that I began to see who they are. And I really chose to take pause to consider a different way of how they experience their own life. So for me in my journey, a lot was illuminated to me. I would go to University of Oxford in the summer and speak at their summer school for animal ethics. And at the time I was just speaking out against drugs in horse racing. But I sat in so many other sessions with academics who were really taking a step back and looking at the living world around us and the experience from the octopus to the cat to the dog to the cow to the goat to the pig, and taking a moment to say, how are we looking at their lives? How does that reflect on us? Who are we if we say that we love them and yet we treat them this way? So I try to really share my journey, which is a big pivot from where I was. And I always loved horses. I say that horses own me now. It's more how things are. I do listen to them. I try to hear what they're saying. I think anybody can listen to them because they're talking all the time, trying to figure out what they're saying. They try to tell us all the time, but it's not always easy to interpret. I don't think it belongs to a guru. I think it just depends on us, observing them, understanding them, how they see the world. Yeah, you're looking for peppermints is what's going on there. I think stories, the real stories of horses, real stories of people whose lives, like my own, have transformed from looking at them one way to another, that through conversations, through stories, through sharing your heart is how the world changes.
Absolutely. Thank you. The stable classroom is quite the project. Fascinating. How do you see education through horses' stories shaping future generations?
Oh, gosh. I mean, my own journey is such that, everything I learned in school, I really could have learned and absorbed more effectively if it was shared through the journey of a horse. Want me to bring her in? Because she's going to keep eating on the chair, or she's okay eating on it. She's going to keep chowing down on it. She wants attention and peppermint.
Right after.
Okay.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah. Okay.
They will bring something in.
She wants peppermints and carrots. That's what she is.
You're holding out.
Lucky is known as the snack queen. So her favorite is Ricola. cough drops. And what she is anytime there's new visitors, she knows, like, there's human Pez dispensers. Like, so that's part of what's going on here.
The lady's been sitting behind the camera for hours.
Yeah, it hasn't given me anything. So the stable classroom, I've always just innately throughout the whole of my life related so many situations with horses to educational lessons. It just kind of came naturally, like the feed room, right? You had, the time you have 10 horses who require X number of pounds of food a day from bags that are delivered that are X number of pounds that cost how much per dollar, and right down the whole rabbit hole. And I'm like, these are great math lessons, science and engineering, how a stable is designed, how is it, why are stalls this size and not that size? How does that relate to how the horse experiences his or her life when confined in that stall for so long? Read to the rescues is a part of it. Literacy. I believe that anybody can learn to read, and if they do learn to read, they'll have a much better quality of life. And I watched through Read to the Rescues, which really was our flagship course in the stable classroom. Kids come in that their parents would be dragging them in. You're going to read, summer reading. Sit down in front of the horse, and they'd be like whispering, they'd not look up, couldn't really figure out what they were reading. And by the end of coming back, through 6 sessions voluntarily, these kids are animated storytellers. They come running in the barn, grabbing a book. Oh, Lucky, I want to read you this. Wait till you hear what I read this week, what I learned this week. So I saw the effect of it. And, I just know from my own journey that if you care about something and you're really interested and you're curious about it, you're going to be open to receiving more lessons, life lessons, via that channel than you are necessarily sitting in a classroom behind a desk. So the stable classroom is kind of an experiential, immersive, Montessori, and I saw all of these stories, especially the ethics stories, or ethics courses and teaching through the real stories of the rescued horses, right? Let's take a look at this whole story. How many horses were born in that year? What does it actually cost to keep those horses? Say 20,000 thoroughbreds are born a year. You're creating 600,000 years of life to be supported. What does that mean? What are all the implications of the decisions, along the way? How does that correlate to, our moral obligation to other living beings that we unilaterally choose to bring into this world, that we individuate by a name, right? These are not wild horses on the plain. So there's just so many lessons that I thought, what a great place to learn in the stable from horses, from real horses, or here in Sanctuary. They're not leaving. Students can follow the course of their life. So it's something I'm writing some really big grants for. I'd like to bring it to life, have educators here on staff full time, and have this property serve as a campus that is the stable classroom, whether it is part of a location, that a traditional school could send children to, or there are self-contained courses within themselves that meet the state standards. I've just seen kids light up. Kids get excited about reading that would just throw a book on the ground. And that's a magic that the horses themselves deliver. I don't know what it is. I don't need to know, but I know that I need to facilitate that in the world. And that's why the stable classroom, came about. It was just something I saw and said, this needs to exist and be birthed in the world. And we have a sanctuary in Georgia, Zorro's Crossing, that is a wonderful friend. She's adopted 5 horses from us, and she adopted Read to the Rescues at her sanctuary, and it has taken off wonderfully. It's become a regular program. The community loves it. For us, it led to a partnership with New York State Libraries for their summer reading program that we were destination location. It has helped us in building relationships with the library to put our art exhibitions of the horses into the libraries. So it's a wonderful way that to me is just a win-win-win. It's a win for education. It's a win for the kids, in empathy learning to consider the life of another being, learning through them and with them. And then also to get the real stories of rescued horses out to a wider audience and a general public that has an affinity for horses, doesn't know that they need to be protected, and then, hopefully they become interested enough and curious enough that they will take measures in their own life that make a difference for horses in creating a kinder world for them.
I mean, about a lot of awareness on multiple levels too. So let's talk about your upcoming documentary, Broodmare, The Forgotten Lives of Thoroughbreds. It's an urgent project. What you hope viewers will take away from it?
That is a project I am in the thick of right now, really writing the treatment for it. It very much mirrors the lack of consideration for the value of senior females on planet Earth. And horses are a microcosm of that. Breeding and racing is very patriarchal, and the mares, when they're done having babies, most of them are just thrown away. Most of the mares here are involved in our education programs. They have a lot of life and love and light to give, years beyond when they ever produce a baby. And the lack of consideration for that life force after all they give, I just want people to be aware of it. I don't know that it needs to answer anything, but I want to make it known that this happens in the world, and that these mares, who are the central figures of that story, Broodmare, who are mares here, these are the mothers behind every racehorse you see at the racetrack. So when you're in the winner's circle at the Kentucky Derby or Saratoga or anywhere else, there's a lot of suffering that went into that joy and celebration that you're having. And without an equitable consideration to what they gave of their lives to create, this pageantry known as the sport of kings, I think is a very ugly stain on humanity. And I want people to see who they are and how they're thrown away after all that they've given.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us here at Unbridled Sanctuary. The work that Susan and her team are doing through advocacy, education, and ethical care is nothing short of extraordinary. These conversations stay with you long after the cameras stop rolling. In our next and final episode of this series, we'll shift into something truly special, the power of storytelling. We'll explore Susan's incredible media career from unbridled TV to real horse rescues, and how art, through projects like Horses of Unbridled, transforms the way people see and value equines. And we'll look ahead to Unbridled's future, its legacy, its vision, and the profound lessons these horses teach every single day. If this series has moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel, and share it with someone who cares about horses as deeply as you do. Your support genuinely helps this mission reach more hearts. And if you're able, Unbridled Sanctuary relies on donations to continue rescuing, rehabilitating, and giving voice to the voiceless. You can use the QR code on the screen or in the description to support their life-changing work. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the final episode.